Alright, let's talk about something that sounds super complicated but is actually everywhere in our lives. It's called the prisoner's dilemma. Now forget the intimidating name for a second. At its heart, it's just a story. Trust, betrayal, and making tough choices when you don't know what the other person is going to do. Imagine this. You and your best friend, let's call her Amelia, are partners in a very specific niche cookie baking business. But the police suspect your secret cookie recipe is so good it must be illegal. So they bring you and Amelia in for questioning. So you're sitting in that sterile room, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The detective gives you two options. Option 1, you can stay silent. In the language of game theory, this is called cooperating. Option 2, you can betray Amelia. This is called defecting. Amelia, in her separate room, faces the exact same two choices. The detectives lay it all out for you. They slide a piece of paper across the table and explain the deal. The situation is perfectly symmetrical. If you both cooperate, that is, you both stay silent, the police can't prove the main crime. Let's say that means you each serve just 1 year in prison. But if you defect while she stays silent, you walk free while she gets a brutal 10 years. If you both defect, you both get 5 years. To really understand the dilemma, we need to look at all the outcomes at once. Game theorists use something called a payoff matrix to do this. Top left box, you both cooperate. You both stay silent. The outcome? 1 year in prison for you, 1 year for Amelia. Bottom right box, you both defect. You both snitch. The outcome? 5 years each. Bottom left, you defect while Amelia cooperates. You walk free. She gets 10 years. Top right, you cooperate while she defects. You get 10 years, the sucker's payoff. So let's think like a perfectly rational, self-interested person. If she stays silent, defecting gets you 0 years instead of 1. Defect is better. If she defects, defecting gets you 5 instead of 10. Again, defect is better. In either scenario, defecting is the dominant strategy. So both reach the same bitter conclusion. This whole prisoner's dilemma thing isn't just a thought experiment. Criminals, cookie bakers, it happens all the time, in small, everyday situations. Think about doing a group project for school. The best outcome is if everyone pulls their weight. But there's always the temptation for one person to slack off. They defect. If you're one of the hard workers, you're stuck with the sucker's payoff. Extra work, exploitation. Consider splitting the bill. The cooperative choice is reasonable meals. The temptation is to order steak or lobster. If everyone thinks like that, the final bill is astronomical for all. Even making a fresh pot of coffee at the office is a mini dilemma. The best outcome is whoever finishes the pot makes a new one. But the best individual move is to take the last cup and walk away. You've defected. If everyone defects, the pot stays empty and no one gets coffee. These small interactions are governed by the same logic, the tension between what's best for the group and what's best for you right now. The prisoner's dilemma scales up, way up. Group projects, global politics, economics. Think about two competing companies selling smartphones. They can keep prices high or compete on price. If one secretly slashes prices, customers flood in and that company wins short term. But that triggers a price war. Both cut prices, margins collapse, both worse off than if they'd cooperated. This exact logic fueled the Cold War arms race. The best collective outcome was disarmament, but each side feared the sucker's payoff. Both sides spent trillions building arsenals. Mutual defection on a terrifying scale. The prisoner's dilemma here isn't theoretical. It's literal geopolitics with human lives and massive resources at stake. So why do we still choose to defect so often? So if cooperation is so often better for everyone involved, why is betrayal or defection so common? The answer lies deep in our psychology. One of the biggest drivers is fear, specifically the fear of the sucker's payoff. Another motivator is greed. Defect, and you might walk free while the other suffers. The structure matters. The classic prisoner's dilemma is a one-shot game. No tomorrow, no reputation. When there's no future interaction, incentives to keep trust are weakened. Self-preservation wins. From a purely self-interested view, defecting is the dominant strategy. It gives a better or equal outcome no matter what the other does. Our brains run quick cost-benefit analyses. Fear, isolation, and temptation push us toward betrayal. We are programmed to protect ourselves. Betrayal can look like self-defense. But research shows the story isn't entirely bleak. Scientists and experiments teach us more. How do we know all this? Because scientists have been studying the prisoner's dilemma for decades. They put people in controlled lab settings and have them play variations of the game, often for real money. They found cooperating lights up our brain's reward centers. Mutual cooperation feels intrinsically good. A surprising number of people choose to cooperate even in one-shot games. The prisoner's dilemma even appeared on TV. The British show Golden Balls had a split or steal final round. If both chose split, they split the money. If one steals and the other splits, the stealer takes everything. If both steal, both get nothing. Studies show communication dramatically increases cooperation. Talk first, and people cooperate more. Cultural background and stakes change behavior. Collectivist cultures can start more cooperatively. Big stakes sometimes push toward cooperation too. Researchers tweak parameters to see what tips people toward trust or betrayal, and the results are nuanced and hopeful. The classic prisoner's dilemma is a bit bleak because it's a one-time deal. But in real life, we usually interact repeatedly. Friends, family, colleagues. This changes everything. Enter the iterated prisoner's dilemma. In the late 70s, Robert Axelrod ran a famous tournament. The winning strategy was shockingly simple. It was called tit for tat. Rule 1. Cooperate on the first move. Rule 2. Thereafter, do whatever your opponent did last time. Tit for tat is nice, retaliatory, forgiving, and clear. It starts cooperative, punishes betrayal, then forgives. Its simplicity makes its pattern obvious, encouraging stable cooperation and trust over time. It's not about saintly altruism. It's recognizing long-term cooperation pays more than short-term betrayal. Key lessons. Start with trust, punish exploitation, then forgive. That fosters cooperation. The iterated dilemma gives a roadmap, and that brings us to how we can build a more trusting world. So, are we doomed to a life of suspicion and betrayal? The research gives reason for hope. 3 practical steps. 1. Start with trust. 2. Enlarge the shadow of the future. Structure repeat interactions. 3. Improve communication. Design workplaces, friendships, and systems that reward reciprocity and make exploitation visible and costly. We can be trustworthy without being naive. Extend the first hand, be ready to resist exploitation, and forgive when people return to cooperation. That's the way out.